So if you watched the video yesterday, we were looking at the homebrew 1962 really well made top band transmitter, which would no doubt do 10 watts. We did a bit of preliminary measuring, and on CW it did 7.5 watts without adjusting anything, so it seems about right. I'm looking for a microphone for us. I'm bidding on eBay. I'm not going to tell you what I'm bidding on, or somebody might outbid me. So hopefully we'll get a microphone that I will know will be compatible. So then we can do some audio checks, but I haven't got anything to receive it on. I've got a Heathkit HR10, and I've just dug that out, and I was going to bought it about 2 years ago off eBay. It came from the United States. It's in nice condition, and it comes with its crystal calibrator, which was an option. And I've never looked at it, so I've just dug it out, and to my horror it doesn't do top band. But then America didn't have top band, or still don't, I don't know. So we're going to have to go well down the ladder to a very much more of a domestic thing, really, for the casual shortwave listener, the Realistic DX300. Now, this came out in 1978, and this particular one has a date code on it telling me it's September 1979. There is a snag I found as I printed off the service manual. Early versions have to have a modification, otherwise the SSB is unstable and full of birdies. So they're expecting you to put this tag strip in and these extra components to correct the problem. So is this an early one? Is this a late one and it's already got that? We'll find out. Are we that bothered? I don't think we're that bothered. So, of course, when you look these things up, it uses a Wadley loop system, Wadley loop, and I recall the Raycall R17, RA17 using Wadley loop in the 1950s, and no doubt uses a similar principle for the way it works. So this is a synthesized radio, is it, or is that a frequency counter? I don't know. I don't know. I do. So it's a frequency counter. So it isn't synthesized. That's actually better for me. It won't have as much noise. Now, people say these are about as stable as a bag of worms, and that the image rejection is atrocious. Do you know what? I don't care a toss. I've got a DX160. I bought the whole set of these in 20 years ago. I bought the DX120, the DX150, DX160, the 200. There was another one, wasn't there? The 100, the 200, the 300, and 301. And the plan was to do overhaul on the DX120 first. Well, when we started doing in our radio club some 80 meter nets, that's when I bought that Heathkit HW12A transceiver, which I restored and have used. And then subsequently bought that HW101, which we're using, which is in the van. And so I didn't need to do any of these realistic sets. Well, we did the DX160, and I've done a video on aligning that within an inch of its life. You know, it really works as it should do. But you know what? When we put it on the air, it's not very good. So the Heathkit 2 valve transceivers just knock the spots off it. So I haven't got another one to compare it with, but it isn't very good, and it's the resolving the SSB. It is so fiddly to try and to do that with. So I haven't. What I said I was going to do is do the DX120, do the DX150, and kind of build them up as they got newer. But we didn't end up doing this. Well, this one is hanging around, whereas the DX301's currently in storage. I know the DX301's better, but as I really don't care an iota as long as it does 1.8 megs. I'm not trying to get some unusual DX on it. I really don't care about that. So we've got a rather large mains plug with an RS fuse in it. And so I haven't plugged this in. I think the plan was to probably put new capacitors in this if it needed it. I have never plugged this in. and so it's a UK one, it's not 110 volts, so I'm going to plug it in right now and we'll switch it on. What will happen? On off. Okay. I don't think that's right, do you? According to my info, this is an audio filter, it's not some kind of IF filter. Wide, normal, narrow is just simply an audio filter. We haven't got a battery in it. Attenuator, it seems straightforward enough. We're in AM mode. Standby, I'll be using it with a transmitter, which is what we will be doing if we can get it to work. So we've got a pre-selector. Oh, I've got a spider crawling up my nose. That's this pre-selector. So it does do the 1.8, which is what we were wanting. Has it got any volume? So we've got tens and no units on the display. That's a bit dirty. Well, what we're going to do, I've got a signal generator lurking over on bench 4A, and we're going to plug that signal generator in and actually see whether this thing receives. I've got 7.3 on the signal generator, so we'll turn the megs to 7. Turn the pre-selector to the right band. I'll put somewhere near there, and we'll just have to tune round because we don't know where it is in the band with the digital display being not working. We'll turn the RF gain up. Turn the RF gain down. Should be about there on the pre-selector. So we'll turn the volume down and the RF gain up. Well, I'd expect that to be S9, so judging by that it's as deaf as a post. But it does at least receive. So we know that that is 7.45. 7.3, sorry, that's because the signal generator says so. I'll just turn the tone off just to prove it. Go over to 1 kilohertz. Okay, so I'll pause the video and I'll open it up. So when we look inside this, it has got that modification shown in the supplement to the service manual. So this is either a late version or it's been put in. So underneath it's nice and clean, and to be honest it's nice and clean inside as well. So before we start worrying about the signals and all that kind of stuff, I think we'll just check these connectors are in to the tuning arrangement, because this goes into the digital counter. So what might be just sensible is to pop out these plugs and go over them with the fiberglass brush. It might be something as simple as this. I mean, at the end of the day, I bought this, it's been sent in the post. But I mean, this is why it might have been sold. And I know nothing about, you know the type of ads, don't you? I know nothing about radios, and you look at some of the closed items and they've done nothing but sell radios. yeah, whatever's in there isn't going to be too scary. So let's power it back up. So we've still got no units, so it's going to have a fault on it. We may as well take the lid off the counter. I haven't looked at the manual at all. I'm expecting it to be a few discrete chips rather than one clever one, but I don't know. We're going to find out. If there's some CMOS devices, they're subject to static, and that can be, of course, a cause of malfunction. There's plenty of electrolytic capacitors which could also have seen better days. And there could be one inside here with just that problem. So you see, I assumed wrongly that these were synthesized, so I'm actually pleased they're not. These were made by GRE in Japan, General Research Electronics, who actually did at least one, if not more, of the trio receivers back in the very late 60s, or even the, was it the 70s? That is going to have to come off the front panel a bit first, I think. So General Research Electronics certainly don't make crap, but they're at the other end of the scale, they're not making military stuff. So the only other set we've got which might do this frequency I want is a Yaesu FRG7, but if I showed it you, oh dear, I think it's being dragged out of a skip, having been put in a room with 10,000 people smoking. So the person who passed it on to me said he daren't switch it on. Now it's a bit frustrating that can I just, no, it's not going to come. Now I'm going to have to take the front off, so I'll pause the video. So we've now got to the module, and it is a clever chip. It looks like a Mitsubishi, or I sometimes get the Matsushita and the Mitsubishi logos modelled up, but I think the first thing to do with this is we'll go through some of these electrolytics, because it might be knocking the supply off. So it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be the big IC, it's going to be something silly, I'm hoping, but perhaps a look at the service manual will give me a clue. Troubleshooting guide. Oh, right. Kilohertz display is blanked. That's what we've got. The 4 megs reference oscillator is defective. The frequency counter chip is defective. Or the third local oscillator and associated components are defective. So the megahertz reading is the first local oscillator. So I'll start having a look at that. Now remember, it's deaf, so that could be a clue. So what does it say about that? Well, I think what they'd be referring to is noisy. Faulty RF stage for a gain check. Faulty IF stage. It's not going to be the AF amplifier. So it's possibly got a transistor out or something like that. So let's look at what the sensitivity is supposed to be. So at 7 megs, it's supposed to be 0.5 to 2 microvolts. So the fact that I've got about 50-60 microvolts, and it's not that brilliant. I'm not going to sign that meter on, but I don't need that to tell you it's deaf. Right, we'll pause the video. Just before getting further into this frequency counter bit, I noticed the aerial socket is connected to test point 201. They've disconnected where it should go. So test point 201 is here. So they've eliminated all this. Why on earth have they done that? Okay, well we'll just we'll tell you what we'll do. We'll put one screw back in this so that it's not dangling. Won't bring the display back, but it might bring the sensitivity back, and it may then be easier fault finding this. So I'll disconnect, I'll put the soldering iron on, that will help. Just turn the radio off. Oops, wrong button. What have I done? AM, there we are, second one. There we go. Perhaps they found that they got some reception by going in here with the aerial. So we'll disconnect their orange wire, and we'll reconnect the screened wire . Temporarily kind of put that somewhere like. I'll switch it back on. It's not going to bring the display back, as I say. It might change the sensitivity, it might make it worse because there's another fault, or it might make it better. So I've now put the signal generator on full pelt. Let's turn that RF gain down. Up again. So let's see how deaf it is now. So that's 70 microvolts, 20 microvolts. Oh no, we're in millivolts. So that's about S9. So yeah, it's pretty deaf, isn't it? So it's got a fault. And the fact that the frequency counter is not reading, and having looked at what it says in the manual, it sounds to me like exactly what it says. It's the third. What did they say? The third? third local oscillator is defective. So if we look at that, because I think these are triple conversion. Yeah, well, I'll have a look at this and see whether we can shed any light on its deafness. So I've had a thought about this, and what we're going to do, I have been able to tune up the third IF, and I've got more or less the voltages shown in the manual, but I don't still have the display. So let's forget about that for a moment. What we'll see, I'm beginning now to think, as the manual suggests, that the IC is faulty. Now it suggests checking that the oscillator is running, which is a 4 megs crystal oscillator. So we've got the portable oscilloscope out, which, because it goes up to about 70 megs, this. We can read. So somehow we need to access pins, well, 3 and 4. We might get away with just putting an earth on. If we can get onto the earth, that is. And then onto, I'll just borrow that prod. We'll hook that round there. We'll try and hook that, we'll do it that way. You soon found some shortcuts when you've been doing this a few decades. So if I go on pin 3 of the IC, no, we're not going to be able to get that far down, I don't think. See if we can do it with just the prod. Move that wire out of the way. Pin 3. No, pin 4. 4 megs. So the oscillator's running. I've already checked we've got power to the IC, the 5 volts is present. So it's not being dragged down. So the next thing to check is what we've got on the input. So pin 6 is the input, and it's going to be something like, it says here, 2456 to 3455 kilohertz. So let's see what that reads. So pin 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Read it. I just couldn't hold it on. Let's try again. 3.25. Yeah, so that's within what now? Let's tune the dial. So 3.25. I'm going to turn the dial. And it's tuning and giving us a reading. So the IC is faulty. So it's as simple as that. So I still don't know what's happened to the sensitivity on this. It doesn't seem to read right with our signal generator. So that's something to come onto. That's not going to be so difficult. There could be a duff transistor somewhere, or a capacitor dragging something down. So we're going to have to order that part, and it's not a cheap part. I've already checked, and the £34.99 plus post. They are in the UK. But without that, it's a scrap set, isn't it? And you know, these certainly sell for well more than £100. Not that I'm in the market for selling things, but it wants to be right. So I don't think that's a big price to pay if it sorts it out, and whatever else is wrong will be cheap. Now, I'm going to just see whether we can put a bit of wire on this thing and whether we can actually pick something up. So, where's one of Mr. Chippy's crocodile clips? on the floor. So which clip is it? I think we'll connect that to the inside. No, we can't connect it to the inside. We'll have to unscrew the terminal enough to get the crocodile clip on it. And of course we should be connecting an earth, but so I'll just connect that crocodile clip to another crocodile clip and to another crocodile clip. And just see whether we can tune anything around blind. Just move this camera so we can actually see. Turn the bench light off for a moment. So what band shall we go on? C. Is there anything on medium wave? Oh, it does. It might do long wave. You know what I've gone and done? That's the signal generator, isn't it? I've just tuned in 455. So I'll just turn off the signal generator. No, perhaps it's a birdie. Right, well I'm not getting anything there, so let's go on the next band. And the next band. And the next band. Let's go on. Try 14, switch it to SSB. No, not getting any luck. We're in a rubbish reception area. I need a proper aerial. But anyway, I think the fact that it appears to be on the deaf side of things can soon be rectified, and I'll get a chip ordered. And then, I mean, it's stone cold when you touch this. Normally on these type of things, big processor chips like that, they have some heat to them. So I've checked the voltage, as I say, so we're not going to wreck a new one by putting it in. So there we are, it's part one of looking at the Realistic DX300, something I've been meaning to get onto for 20 years. And we're finally moving on to it simply because I need something to receive 1.8 megs top band on. And if I can't get this fixed quickly, by quickly I mean within 10 days, then we'll dig out the Yaesu FRG7 and probably end up putting that through the dishwasher. So thank you for watching. I hope you found a look inside the Realistic DX300 slightly interesting, and at least we've got the service manual, which is readily downloadable, and the voltage charts. Good manuals as ever with the Realistic stuff. Thanks.